97 out of 100 books published by traditional publishers today fail to make a profit. Hence, they're a complete failure and disaster. And a major distributor that represented about 350 to 400 publishers just went bankrupt 6 weeks ago. I learned that information from my literary agent, and no surprise, right? Gee, go figure. They offered her the job a couple of years ago, and she looked at their financials and said, this is a mess. Why? Because they're peddling crap that nobody wants to read. They keep pushing this agenda that no one cares about, no one wants to buy. All these bestsellers, New York Times, BS, it's all crap. Most books never sell more than 300 to 400 books within their entire lifetime, just to put it on a range. And if your book has sold 2,500 to 3,000 copies in its lifetime, they would consider that a success. We surpassed that. We're in the top 1% of all books ever published.
Instead of focusing on winning arguments, we're teaching the basic fundamentals of sales and marketing and how we can use them to win in the world of politics, teaching you how to meet people where they're at on the issues they care about. Welcome to The Brian Nichols Show. Well, hey there, folks. Brian Nichols here on The Brian Nichols Show. Thank you for joining us on, of course, another fun-filled episode. I am, as always, your humble host, joining you from our lovely Cardio Miracle Studios here in Eastern Indiana. The Brian Nichols Show is powered by our friends over at AMP America. Folks, go get the news you need to know without the corporate media bias or fluff. Head to ampamerica.com for news articles, opinion pieces, podcasts, and more. One more time, ampamerica.com. Also, the Brian Nichols Show and yours truly powered by our amazing studio sponsor, Cardio Miracle. So, folks, if you are looking for quite literally the best heart health supplement in the world, bar none, it's going to help improve your resting heart rate, help lower your blood pressure, help improve those restless nights of sleep while also improving your pump at the gym. Stick around. We're going to talk more about Cardio Miracle later in today's episode. But for going into today's episode, let's talk about the next great American series. Is it going to be something like Star Wars, or maybe not even American, something like Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings, or maybe it's going to be something called Britfield, something that's not based in science fiction and fantasy, but rather based in real world. So let's talk about that today. Returning here to the Brian Nichols Show is Chad Stewart from the Britfield series. Chad, welcome to the Brian Nichols Show. How you doing?
Brian, I'm doing good. Glad to be on. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely, Chad. Great to have you back on the show, and I'm really excited to hear what's been happening since you were last here in the show last year talking about Britfield. I know book 4 is just around the corner, just came out, something right there yet. So there's a lot of stuff happening in the Britfield world, but for the folks maybe who missed out last episode, because elephant in the room, Chad, we've been growing leaps and bounds here since we joined our good folks and team over at AMP America. So who is Chad Stewart? What is Britfield, and why is this your focus for today?
Yeah, I can do a quick 5-minute overview to bring up some of your audience, and then we'll dive into sort of updates and what's happening. Lots happening right now. It's exciting. And it's interesting, too. You mentioned Star Wars, and obviously I was still a big fan, but, I was 1977. I saw Star Wars 13 times. It always influenced me. And last year we were meeting with investment bankers regarding the Britfield series as we're expanding globally. And they looked at our business plan and said, you guys could be bigger than Star Wars. And I thought, wow. So we could touch on that. That's kind of big. But I'm originally from Newport Beach, California. I was back east in Wellesley, Massachusetts for about 16 years. Did my undergraduate in British literature, European history, postgraduate work, and then went on to graduate school, and then was an investment banker, worked at 3 Fortune 100 companies, and lived off and on in England for about 2 years, which will explain a little bit about the Britfield series. But it was about 12 years ago, maybe 13, that I was down at a boring seminar, investment banker, dying to do something fun, dying to do something creative. And I got the idea, the spark for Britfield and the Lost Crown. It really just started out as a circle, 3 lines, a basket, a boy and a girl. And I wrote The Boy and the Balloon, and you can kind of see the image of the balloon behind me. And so I went home and really just sat down and just said, just start writing, have some fun with it, outline it a little bit. It took me 4 years, 2,500 hours just to write book 1 of what eventually became a 7-book series. It's not finished yet, but a 7-book series. And so book 1, 384 pages. And from concept and doodle to launching it took us 10 years. And we officially launched in August 2019. Since then, it's become one of the most awarded books in children's fiction. Our youngest readers, 7, our oldest readers, 93. 55% of our reading audience are adults. And it's become a worldwide sensation. We've got feedback from Brazil, North Korea, Japan, Italy, Australia. We just sold some more books and shipped them to a big bookstore in Australia. Another one in New Zealand, and across the nation, England, Canada, Italy, you name it. So a lot of exciting news with that as that series is kind of rolling out. And I think what makes the book so unique and so impactful, and we'll talk about this kind of as our main theme, is number one, it takes place in current time. It's based in reality, it takes place right now, current time. There is no heightened fantasy. There's no witchcraft, demigods, superheroes, none of that. And I'm a big C.S. Lewis, fan. But even with Narnia, you enter in the world of mysticism and magic, right? With Tolkien, it's that post-apocalyptic world. And with Britfield, it's happening right now. Book one's in England, starts up in Yorkshire, Northern England. And it's about this orphan Tom, 12 years old, but an orphan his whole life, been at Weatherly Orphanage for 6 years. This is the year he's going to escape, but he doesn't go anywhere without his best friend Sarah. Somewhere along the lines, they commandeer a hot air balloon. They're relentlessly chased by the illustrious Detective Gowerstone, and it kind of goes from Oxford to Windsor to London and down to Canterbury. And there's this wonderful royal mystery that gets unpacked in book one. Then we launched book two in July of 2021, Britfield and the Rise of the Lion, 474 pages. Tom and Sarah now 13 years old, 6 months later. And that's very intense. That takes place in France. Then book three, we launched September 2022, Britfield and the Return of the Prince, takes place in Italy. Tom and Sarah now 14 years old. And the main scenes are Florence, Rome, and Venice. Beautiful. And then we're getting ready to launch book four, Britfield and the Eastern Empire. And that launches at the end of September. And this has been a heck of a work, just a lot of work. 460 pages, so we're bringing it with the count. But I actually include 10 different countries. Starts in Vienna, goes to Prague, Krakow, Warsaw, Berlin, Baltic Sea, Lithuania, Estonia, Budapest, and then the last third is in St. Petersburg and Moscow, Russia. And so current events throughout all these books, we tie in a lot of different subjects and a lot of things like that. We're also, so it'll be a 7-book series. Book 5 will be in Asia, book 6 will be in South America, book 7 will be in the United States, and they'll be followed by 7 major motion pictures. This is a finished script, third draft, final polish of the first Britfield and Lost Crown movie. It's 148 pages. This will be about a 2-hour and 15-minute movie. And we're very excited about that. Really, by next week, we're gearing up and we'll be moving into pre-production pretty soon. And I don't see why we wouldn't be filming in England next year with an ideal release date of November 2025, but it might be 2026. And then after that, every 18 months to 2 years, we'll be launching another major motion picture, live action Britfield movie. And probably by February, March of next year, we'll already start on the second script. So it's not like, waiting or we're not waiting really for anything. It's just taken a while to kind of get to this point. We've spent 6 years building a major infrastructure team, building the brand, getting the trilogy, 2 years worth of development for the film, locking in major studios for what we need, if you will. It's going to be independent outside of Hollywood, so there'll be no manipulation, total creativity control, but using the best of the best in the industry, award-winning this and award-winning that, and complete control and stuff. So it's exciting. And then there's a whole rollout of products. We'll be working on the board game. We can talk about that. And then 2 television programs. So it's kind of a quick overview of the world of Britfield, but there's a lot going on. And I think current news right now is that really after 5.5 years from what I would consider a soft launch in the US as we've been rolling out, we're getting ready to go global. And we're actually going global now in this month of July. It's a huge tipping point and pivoting point for us. We just launched in Britain about 3 weeks ago. So we're rolling across Britain right now to all the schools and retail bookstores, actually 1,200 independent bookstores in Britain, go figure. And that's a lot for that small little country. And then we got a tour plan there in September, 3 or 4 week tour. We got the book fair in October, so I'll roll that in. Eastern European tour for eight weeks, starting in Poland, Warsaw, Poland for 3 weeks, and then all through Eastern Europe, and then Asia, South America. So it's really just the beginning of an extraordinary journey, and I'm just excited to be here, share it with your watchers who are smart people watching your show. They're enlightened, they're awake, they're well educated, they know their history, and I think for myself, I've personally been relearning history for the last 12 years. So.
Well, we always talk about here on the show there, Chad, the importance of creating culture. And you're not just creating culture to just create culture. You're creating culture because I think it's quite obvious. You saw there was a demand. And let's just go back to something you started the show with, talking about how, yeah, there's no magical wizards, there's no spaceships, there's no, post-apocalyptic world. This is supposed to be taking place in real life. And I think one of the big challenges, and I'm saying this as a new dad myself, is that whenever I'm trying to raise my daughter, now granted, she's 15 months old, so this is a little bit different, but for parents who their kids are getting a little bit older, you want to be able to root your kids' morality, their values, their principles in real life, or at the very least around the context of real life happenings versus, well, I'm a space wizard and I can, carry a magic lightsaber and I can deflect laser bolts. Like, no, sorry. As much as I, just like you, Chad, I wanted that to be real life back when I was growing up. That's not real life. So for parents, it is so important to be able to have a resource that it gives your kids the ability to now think creatively, find themselves immersed in a different world. Well, at the same point in time, even though it's a different world, it's still their world. It's a place that they know they can go out, and it sounds familiar, right? Now, granted, this is all taking place overseas, and I'm fingers crossed, maybe I'm putting my own bias. Hopefully, we do have a Britfield book take place over in the continental United States. That's my bias.
That's book 7. Book 7.
There you go. There's book 7, saving the best for last. I love it. So with that perspective, right, that is where I think a lot of parents enter today's conversation. Now, let's also address the elephant in the room. Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars. Those are cultural, icons, like they're pillars in our society. So Britfield obviously has I would say a big hill to climb to get into the purview of your average person. So you mentioned you're not doing the movies through your traditional Hollywood infrastructure. So I'm guessing that means that, I don't want to use the word grassroots, but really, I mean, it's going to be a grassroots approach to bringing this to the market beyond the success you've already had. So talk about more of what you're seeing as either potential roadblocks, some struggles, or do you think that the premise behind my question actually isn't correct, and that more and more people will actually embrace this versus Star Wars or Harry Potter because of the very nature that it is more real?
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, we're coming up on almost 50 years of Star Wars. That's a $68 billion franchise, which is stunning. And interesting, too, as you might know, the backstory of George Lucas, like early 1970s, wrote the first draft, took it out to Hollywood. Nobody wanted it. No one was interested in it. Not a single producer, not a single director, not a single studio. They thought it was silly, and there was no audience. And that is very, very typical of the quote unquote experts or industry. They don't know jack diddly. And so I think part of your premise is incorrect in the sense that Hollywood is dead, and Hollywood's been dead for years. They're rolling. I mean, look at them. I mean, I'd say about 9 out of 10 of their big box office movies are failing and complete box office disasters. I think 4 out of the last 5 Disney films have been complete catastrophic disasters. And you have to understand that when a movie needs to make 4 to 5 times its budget, not including P&A, which is print and advertising. So if I do $100 million movie, I'll throw in another $50 to $75 million, if not more, in the marketing. So you don't see that. You see a $100 million budget. That movie needs to do about $400 to $500 million to start getting into the black and make a profit. And so these movies that you see, and they're out there, for $100 million, and they've done maybe 250. They've tanked, and they've tanked bad, and they've lost hundreds of millions of dollars. See, the theaters get 55% of the revenue right off the bat. The distributor gets it. There's points in the back end. So it's just like, I mean, you don't rally from these massive, you don't lose hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars constantly. And in some ways they don't care because it's all an interlocking, chess game. They're bailed out by banks. They merge, they bankrupt. It's all agenda oriented. I mean, the whole infrastructure of Hollywood exists to push a narrative. It's a fake narrative. It's a false narrative. It's to divide the family. It's an anti-God narrative. Let's be honest with it. It's an anti-family narrative. And so Hollywood is dead. Hollywood doesn't dictate anything. Hollywood isn't needed. We are the new film industry across the board. There's a wonderful opportunity right now for independent films. You cannot produce enough great content if you were to start and work for the next 50 years. You'll find a venue, and in few situations, I like to say, if you build it, they'll come. Because most of the time, you build it, and people don't know you exist. But if you make great content right now, great television programs, great films, people will find it, and it will explode like crazy as long as it's good storytelling, good acting, and you don't compromise. there's an 80 to 85% worldwide gap for edifying, clean, family-focused content without the crap, without the agenda, without the nonsense. Hollywood gambled, the mainstream media gambled, television gambled, and they've all failed. You know what I mean? And they're all in a spiraling downward turn. And so this is an era. This is a revolution for us. This is a creative revolution. This is a new renaissance for the creatives and for the independents. And we built our own infrastructure to the point of $2.5 million and growing. We built a global empire around this whole Britfield. We're one of the largest marketing companies out there. We've got a database of 1.4 million contacts in the world of education, retail, libraries, you name it, media. Got over 60,000 media contacts globally. That's more than most marketing companies and PR companies that don't know anything and can't market anything. And I'm sorry, I've dealt with so many of these flashover substance fools. So no, we built our own infrastructure. We don't need anyone's permission. You know, we're one of the most awarded books in children's fiction right now. We just launched in 2019. And remember, when we launched 2019 August, by March of 2020, we had a global shutdown for 2 years, and that's never happened in the history of humanity ever. Even in the World War I and II and those major world wars, they didn't shut down the entire world, if you know what I mean. And yet we rallied and pivoted and are stronger than ever. So we're excited. Our first international rights that we sold was to Poland. Now all 3 books are published in Polish. That's our beachhead for Eastern Europe. So that was part of our strategy. We're about to sell the international rights to South Korea, to Japan. We've got another 18 countries ready to hop on and buy the international rights to the book. There are so many things happening in the world of Britfield, and it's exciting because people just want good storytelling, good content.
Yup.
Yeah, real quick, 97 out of 100 books published by traditional publishers today fail to make a profit. Hence, they're a complete failure and disaster. And a major distributor that represented about 350 to 400 publishers just went bankrupt 6 weeks ago. I learned that information from my literary agent, and no surprise, right? Gee, go figure. They offered her the job a couple of years ago, and she looked at their financials and said, "This is a mess." Why? Because they're peddling crap that nobody wants to read. They keep pushing this agenda that no one cares about, no one wants to buy. All these bestsellers, New York Times, BS. It's all crap. Most books never sell more than 300 to 400 books within their entire lifetime, just to put it on a range. And if your book has sold 2,500 to 3,000 copies in its lifetime, they would consider that a success. We surpassed that. We're in the top 1% of all books ever published.
Wow. All right. Top 1% of books ever published. I think you're among some good company up there, Chad, if that's the case. Now, really quick, I want to go back to one thing you raised up, and that right now people are demanding good quality, just wholesome content. And I think back, look at Disney Plus and the advent of streaming. All these streaming services, it was, hey, we're going to buy the rights to everybody's favorite shows, and then we're going to create our own content. And it seemed like it was going to be a gold mine, right? Like, oh, I get people onto my platform. If I'm Disney, like, I get them onto my platform with the shows they know and they love, and then I can just funnel them to my own content. Now, what's been the result of that? Well, the content that they were producing, not so good. Like, yeah, you had a few gems here and there. Like The Mandalorian was a great show, and then it was followed up by what? The Acolyte. Ugh, this is where we are today, where so much of the content, it's being produced for the sake of being content. And this blew my mind, Chad. So there is this show, and as a new dad, I'm privy to this show. It's not really new, I guess. It's been around for a little bit, but it's new to me and newer to America. And that is a show called Bluey. Now, Bluey came from down under, down in Australia, and it caught parents, I think, by storm, because in an era where I had to literally sit and it feels like screen every single thing my kid's gonna watch, I was able to put on Bluey and know that I got nothing to really worry about. Like it's Bluey. It's a wholesome family of, I think they're dingoes, I think, dogs or something. Like there's cartoon dogs, and they're just it's a mom, a dad, and then 2 little kids. And the adventures they go through, they're wholesome, they're genuine. And this number blew my mind. So Disney buys Bluey, or they buy the rights to stream Bluey, rather. And they don't release the financial details. I think I know why. It's because 25% of all streaming coming from Disney Plus now is Bluey. That's one show on Disney Plus. And that just speaks to, I think, the thing you raised up there, Chad, is that there is just so much crap out there. There is so much garbage, and people are so tired of it. They're like, I don't want my kids being brainwashed just by watching a TV show, and I go and step into the kitchen for 20 minutes. Like, I want to know my kid can sit down, read a book, watch a show, whatever it may be, and I, as a parent, don't have to worry. And I think you look at Bluey getting 25% of all streaming from Disney Plus. You look at organizations like the Tuttle Twins, which is part of our good buddy out there, the Libertas Institute in Utah, our friend Connor Boyack. They have a bunch of kids' books out there. Ashley St. Clair from Brave Books, she has Elephants Are Not Birds. Like, there is a big influx of people bringing great content that is, you know, oriented towards either kids or somewhere they're in. And parents are like, they're loving it because now I have something I can bring to my kid and not second guess or not have to spend an evening going through and reading the book really quick to make sure that I don't have to watch out for 3 or 4 pages of social justice garbage or whatever the thing may be that was hidden into a book. So I say all that. That just speaks to why not only people are in a position that they're looking for alternatives, but frankly, why you're probably finding so much success is because parents are so tired of it. Hey folks, I want to take a moment to talk about something that has truly changed my life, and that is Cardio Miracle, our incredible studio sponsor. Now, I'll be honest, when I first heard about Cardio Miracle and their claims about improving heart health, I was skeptical. But after using it for just about 2 months, I was absolutely blown away by the results. First, my blood pressure went from being consistently around 140/90 to a much more healthier and manageable 120/80. And my resting heart rate dropped from the low 70s to the high 50s. And I couldn't believe it. But the benefits didn't stop there. I started sleeping better, and I felt more energized at the gym, and my heart felt the best it's felt in years. And it's not just me. Hundreds of you, our amazing listeners, have reached out to share your own incredible experiences with Cardio Miracle. So, what is Cardio Miracle, and how does it work? It's a carefully crafted supplement that harnesses the power of nitric oxide to support optimal heart function. So, by increasing nitric oxide levels in your blood, Cardio Miracle helps relax your blood vessels, improve circulation, and it protects your heart from damage. It's like giving your heart the support it needs to function at its best. And here's the best part. We've got an exclusive offer just for you, our loyal listeners here at The Brian Nichols Show. When you head over to cardiomiracle.com and use code TBNS at checkout, you'll get an extra 15% discount on your order. Plus, with their 100% money-back guarantee, you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. So, if you're ready to take control of your heart health and experience the life-changing benefits of Cardio Miracle for yourself, just click the link in the show notes or video description. Trust me, your heart will thank you. And don't wait another day to prioritize your health. Join the tens of thousands of folks who have already discovered the Cardio Miracle difference. Head to cardiomiracle.com now and use code TBNS for 15% off your order. Your journey to a happier and healthier heart starts today. And now, let's get back to the show.
Yes, I did, and I love everything you just said about that show. I mean, to me, that exemplifies everything I've been saying, and seeing all these big Titanics, sink is not surprising to me. Mainstream media is basically non-existent. You're the real media. I wouldn't say alternative. I wouldn't say new. You're just the real media. People like you and all these other programs. I mean, you have the audience. I mean, some of the shows I've been on in the last week, it's like global reach, over 1 million people. And it's exciting. And because people are hungry for the truth, I think people are starving, just for good content. And like you said, just as a parent, I mean, you want your parent, as a parent, you want your kids watching this filthy garbage or this really unappropriate or age appropriate type of stuff. And they always slide it in there and they always push it. And it's tough too, because Netflix, obviously there was a lot of nefarious people behind it, but the idea of it was amazing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I used to use it. I used to teach marketing classes, and I used to use it as an example of it's like Netflix didn't need anyone's permission to build their own studios and produce their own content. and they lured you in with a couple of good shows. I mean, but it's like, I'll be honest, I can't watch anything they do. It's all propaganda. It's all nonsense. It's all false narratives, false agenda.
And by the way, Chad, they test to see how far they can push. Remember when Cuties came out?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God. And that seems like that caught a lot of people off guard. They're like, hold on, time out. Like, maybe I'm culturally left leaning, but this is a bridge too far.
Yeah. So, you know, and to me, I'll predict it. I mean, they're the beginning of the end, because honestly, that it will not last. And they've overextended themselves. And I did a lot of research on them for like 8 years, following them. We were up there in Silicon Valley for 4 hours talking with one of the vice presidents. This is a long time ago. So they were expanding down to South America and then Eastern Europe and stuff. So very familiar with their model and stuff. And it's too bad. And I just remember that one show, Designated Survivor, with Kiefer Sutherland. And it was very interesting. It was cool. And I was kind of following it for the first couple seasons. And then boom, that third season, that first opening scene was one of the most vile things I've ever seen in my life. That was it, was done. And that show tanked, and it didn't continue. But that's what they do. That's why they create the shows. It's great acting. It's great storytelling. It's incredible, production quality, and all of that exists not to entertain you, not to push family values, but to lure you in so they can get you to that moment where they show you the two guys kissing, which is vile, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? To push that agenda. And I'm telling you something. It's the beginning of the end for all of it, for Hollywood, for all the media. It's the beginning of the end.
Is it, by the way, is it something about that third season that just, it calls for them to start pulling in their narratives, their garbage? Because I was a big fan of Ted Lasso over on Apple TV. Loved it. It was a great show. First 2 seasons, absolutely incredible. Season 3, it was like a different show. They come in with all these social narratives. They're talking about immigration. I'm like, this isn't Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso was fun. Ted Lasso was endearing. This is now me sitting as an audience member feeling I'm getting lectured at by a show which is supposed to be a comedy.
Yeah, and it is. That's the narrative. They'll lure you in. Sometimes they'll even get you into the 3rd or 4th season, and then it's the narrative, and it's all about the narrative. The whole show has been created for the narrative. It's not been created to entertain you or just to produce great content. That is why it exists, for that narrative, and they're just waiting for it to stick and hoping it'll stick and hoping. And again, it's desensitizing you, and you're like, well, I know, but it's so funny. You know what I mean? It's so much. It's good comedy, or the great acting and stuff, and so great. That's what they want. They want to compromise little by little, little by little. It's like the frog and the boiling thing. You know, They don't shock you all at once. It's little by little. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So point is great content. That's what Britfield's all about. It's delivering like a real narrative that children, students, even adults can connect with, and we don't suspend that reality. We don't treat you sort of ignorantly. You know what I mean? And all of this has really been produced for 2 reasons: the witchcraft, the demigods, the superheroes, all of it. That's why the whole market is saturated. And it's created for 2 reasons: 1, disconnect kids from reality, and number 2, make them feel less than they are. If I just had superpowers, if I just had a wand, if I could just have fly or a magical cloak, or say a certain spell. And yet all children are amazing. All children are born creative. All children are born creative. All children are born with talent and purpose. And that's what Britfield's all about. You know what I mean? We tie in creativity, critical thinking, communication, collaboration. Kids are reading this book. They're learning about geography, history, art, architecture, and culture. And the entire series is based on family, friendship, loyalty, courage, hope, and faith. And they don't compromise anything. We're trying to elevate literature right now with the Britfield series.
Here, Chad. Well, and with that, by the way, folks, for maybe the folks who missed our first conversation, I know we dug hyper into detail talking about Britfield helping inspire creative thinking with kids in our last conversation. So for anybody who's joining us on the video version of the show, stick around. That's going to pop up at the end of the episode, right about like somewhere here in the middle of the screen. Or just for the audio version of the show in your favorite podcast catcher, just search Chad Stewart, and I'll also include the link here for the episode in the show notes. But Chad, we are getting hard pressed for time. So what I want to do as we go towards our final thought, I want to go ahead and I guess have you leave the audience with a call to action, but also maybe a call to common sense, because I hear this quite a bit. I would support name your favorite alternative media or alternative kids book or alternative movie, whatever it may be, I would support that. But then I'm the only person doing it. I can't bring my kids to there's no Britfield birthday parties. There might be Harry Potter birthday parties, though. So, that's the common objection I hear. What say you to that objection? And, of course, where can folks go ahead if they do want to continue today's conversation by catching their own version of Britfield? Where can they go ahead and do that?
Yeah, I would just say never lower your standards to please somebody else. And now's a time of action, especially for parents, not to compromise anything, to completely and 100% invest in your children, spend time with them, take them to the library, have discussions, do creative things with them, take them to the park, spend the time with them. And there's no excuses about, well, we're too busy or this or that. It's all nonsense. You're the one that needs to be setting up the parameters with social media, with the computer, with the phone, with all of that. You set up those parameters, you lay down the laws, you educate your kids, you let them think for themselves and have some good debates and bring creativity into their life. It's nothing more important because from creativity, everything else spans. With creativity, they start to think and they start to think critically and they start to question things and ask questions and look at things from a different way and brainstorm stuff. And all of that is derived from creativity. And anything you could do to support us. I mean, it's a great book series. It's a perfect summer read. It's a great gift. And we sell it. We have so many repeat orders from parents or people that'll buy it for somebody else. And someone in Oregon is shipping it off to Seattle or Indiana or Miami or wherever it is, and it's very cool because they love the series and then they want to surprise somebody else with the series. And so check out our Britfield website. It's the best place to buy the books. Amazon, of course, is the easiest, and we're on tons of other platforms and stuff. So get the word out. Tell people about Britfield. If you're a school teacher, bring it into the classroom. We've got an 83-page study guide based on academic standards. We have a theatrical play we launched last year based on this book. 90-minute theatrical play with speaking roles for over 30 children actors. That's on our website, turnkey. You can license it, download it, start putting on a play. You could do a read through with the play. Bring Britfield into your life, bring it into your world, and you won't be disappointed.
And if your parent had the Britfield birthday party, I'm sure that will be next on the Britfield to purchase. There you go, Britfield birthday. All right, Chad, this has been a great conversation. And by the way, folks, like I said, that last conversation, we're going to include that in the show notes, which, Chad, we were so close. We were within 2 or 3 episodes of making this literally 100 episodes later from when you first were on the show. So, episode 772, that was the last time that Chad was on the show. The creativity crisis was the conversation. So go ahead. Yeah, check out that episode. It was a really fun conversation. But other than that, folks, you know the drill. Please go ahead. Give today's episode a share. When you do, tag yours truly at B Nichols Liberty. You can find me on Twitter and on Facebook as well as Instagram. Also, we'll make sure we include all social media links, all the links to find Britfield in the show notes as well. So please go ahead, give Chad and Britfield some love. And when you do, please let him know that you heard his appearance here on the Brian Nichols Show. We're reaching tens of thousands of folks every single episode. So if you're first hearing of Britfield today on the Brian Nichols Show, well, let Chad know. Or if you're saying, 100 episodes ago, I heard that episode and I was on the fence, and you know what? Now I'm ready to jump into the world of Britfield. Let Chad know as well. We welcome all here in the Brian Nichols Show audience to jump on board and also bring some different solutions to an area where we so desperately need it, and that is in the culture. So with that being said, yes, you can go ahead and find the Brian Nichols Show on your favorite podcast platform, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, or on your favorite video platform, YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, Twitter, wherever it may be. We're uploading the video version of the show in its entirety. All I ask from you folks, hit that subscribe button, hit that little notification bell, and head down below into the comments. Let us know your thoughts. Have you read Britfield? Have your kids read Britfield? And what has their feedback been? We want to hear about it. Continue the conversation down below. Chad, any final words as we wrap things up with the audience today?
Oh, just have a wonderful summer, and thank you, Brian. Great to be back on your show. We're exciting because things are really moving in the world of Britfield now. So I will be doing. I got about 100 interviews lined up for the next 4 months, and after that, I probably be retiring from the interview world. So it's great to be back on your show. So.
Great to have you back, Chad. Great to have you back, and good luck as things are coming down the pike here. Movie, you're going overseas, all these fun things coming up here. So we're really excited for you. So you got to keep us in touch, and maybe, hey, 100 episodes later, we'll have you back on the show and talk about book 5. Cool. I love it. All right, Chad, thank you for thanks for joining us. And folks, by the way, please go ahead and support the folks who support us. Our amazing sponsors, like our studio sponsor, Cardio Miracle, Amp America, Evil CBD, Liquid Freedom Energy Tea, and more, all can be found on our homepage, BrianNicholsShow.com. With that being said, that's all we have for you. Brian Nichols signing off here on The Brian Nichols Show for Chad Stewart from Brickfield. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to The Brian Nichols Show. Find more episodes at BrianNicholsShow.com.